right? In this class, we'll be discussing about multiple catch classes. In the sense, a single piece of code which is being monitored can produce more than one type of error. That is, in some cases, more than one exception or more than one error could be raised by a single piece of code. It is possible. A single code can generate more than one type of error. Now we have seen in the previous example that one code was producing one type of error. What was the type of error? Arithmetic exception was the error. It was trying to divide by zero. But it is possible that more than one type of error can take place. To handle such type of situation, we can specify two or more catch classes. It is possible for us. To handle one type of error, you write one solution. It is possible. And each catch class can catch a different type of exception, or it can solve a different type of exception. Whenever there is an exception, each catch statement is whenever there is an exception, each catch statement is monitored, and whichever catch is capable of handling that error will get executed. And if none of the catch statements are able to solve that error, then the program execution will stop abruptly. That is what is multiple catch classes. So I'll take example program multicatch to explain this program. So that is a program which is copied here. This is what is multiple catch statement. So what happens? The single piece of code can produce more than one type of error. That is what is multicatch statement. So this is a program which is going to demonstrate how can we catch multiple type of exceptions, right, within the main function. This is the try block which we are trying to monitor from here to here. This is the try block which we are trying to monitor, right? That is the try block which we are trying to monitor. Then I'll write it with red ink. The first catch block written with the red color. That is first catch statement. Next we have written with another color, blue color, second catch block. There are two catch statements in this. Just given some space for explanation purpose. Okay. This is one catch statement, and this is another catch statement. So this is try block. So we are monitoring this piece of code for two types of errors. That means we have uh, written the handlers, cache handlers for two possible types of errors. If this code is producing two errors, then that the same two types of errors can be handled by these cache blocks. The first cache block is, as usual, it is capable of handling division by zero error. The second catch block is capable of handling the error called as array index out of bounds exception. You're trying to access the array index which is not existing. That is called as array index out of bound exception. So we'll study it later. Now only we'll study one by one what actually is the meaning of array index out of bound and what is the meaning of arithmetic exception. Now whenever we run this program, till now we have been not specifying any command line arguments for the program. What is this? This is the command line argument which indicates how many command line arguments you are passing to the program during the execution. It is going to contain the number of command line arguments. If you are passing one command line argument, its value will be, its length will be 1. If you are passing 10 command line arguments, its length will be 10. So ultimately within the try block, what we are trying to obtain here is argument s dot length for this object. See, it is an object. It is an object. It is an array of command line arguments. It is an array of command line arguments. So how many arguments you have passed? So that is argument s dot length. Its length will be 0 if you have passed 0 command line arguments. If you have passed 0 command line arguments, assume that for the program execution we are not passing any of the command line arguments. So argument s dot length is what? 0. So argument s dot length is what now? 0. Then that 0 is being assigned to what? A. What is the value of A? A is 0. We are assuming that during the execution of the program, we are not passing any of the command line arguments. So the length of command line arguments is 0, and that 0 is being assigned to A. Now, what is the value of A now? A has got a value of 0. Later I will show you, I will execute it and show you what actually is the meaning of command line argument. Now simply we are printing the value of A, that is A equal to plus A, just print the value of A. Next statement is what? Int B equal to 42 divided by A. Do we get any error in this line? Is there any possibility that we do error? Can someone answer this? B equal to 42 divided by A. Are we making any errors if we execute this line? Are we doing any mistake in this line if I execute this statement B equal to 42 divided by A? Is there any mistake that we do?
Yes, sir.
What is that error?
Infinity, sir.
That means arithmetic exception, whatever we have seen just now, that is not defined. We're trying to divide 42 by 0. This is an exceptional situation, and in such situation what happens? An object representing the exception will be created, and that will be thrown to the corresponding catch block. One object will get created now. That means one object gets created. One object gets created and thrown, or an object representing the exception will be created and thrown. Now there are two catch blocks. Whichever catch, whichever type of catch is going to match this exception, that particular catch statement will handle that exception. Now for this, we have this particular type of catch block which is going to match its type. What is that? Arithmetic exception, that is E, will be received because it's an arithmetic type of error, and we will simply display the meaning of that. We will simply display its details. What is that? Division by 0 is happening, and what this indicates here is object E. We are displaying all the contents of that object. That means whatever this E is containing, we are displaying everything. What E will contain? E will contain the details or type of the error has happened. E will display the details or type of the error has happened. This is what is the situation whenever we are not passing any of the command line arguments. That means what is the flow now? Will come here. Division by 0 is happening. First we'll display the value of A. Division by 0 error, corresponding catch block, then division by 0 will be printed and its error will be printed. And later that, after try block statement will be executed. So that is what is the situation. I'll execute it and show you. The things will be clear. Multicast statement. Java C multicast dot Java. Compilation is successful. Java multicast. Right? Yes. Now this is where you need to concentrate. Right. So whenever you start the execution, what we're trying to do here is, okay, I'm just trying to bring both in the same window. Okay. Whenever you run this, a is equal to 0, which is being displayed. Why a is equal to 0? Because we have not passed any command line arguments. Here we have not passed any command line arguments. What we have, how we have executed Java, just name of the bytecode we have given. So what is the argument s dot length? Argument s dot length is 0 now. So value of a we are displaying in this statement. That is a equal to 0. So a equal to 0 will get displayed. Then after that we are trying to divide a number by 0. What happens? Arithmetic exception will get created, and that will be sent to the this particular catch block, this particular catch handler. What it is doing here, it is simply receiving the object and printing it. What it is printing? Division by 0 error or divide by 0. If you can see here, it is getting printed here. What it is printing? Divide by 0 colon, here colon. After that we are printing the details of that object or details of that error. So what it says, language related error in the Java package, and what is the type of the exception? Arithmetic exception has occurred. And specifically, what is the type of arithmetic exception? Division by 0 error. That means you are trying to divide a number by 0. So all those details will be displayed. We are displaying the detail of the exception, and after that, after all the try and catch block, what is the last statement which will execute? Because if it is executing, we have successfully handled the error. What is after try and catch block? It is simply printing that after try or catch blocks. After try or catch blocks. So that is what is the exception handled when there are no command line arguments. When the value of a is 0, this type of errors will take place. This is what we have demonstrated now. Now for the same program, it is possible that you pass one command line argument. This was the scenario when the command line argument was not being passed. This was the scenario when the command line argument was not being passed. Now assume that for this program, we are passing one command line argument. How to pass that one command line argument? I will demonstrate later. Now assume that we have passed one command line argument. Earlier that was 0. Now we are passing one command line argument. When you are passing one command line argument, then argument s dot length will be having a value of what? 1. So 1. So 1 means what? A is 1. So what is the value present in A now? A is 1. So it is getting printed. Then 42 divided by 1, is it acceptable in mathematics? I am trying to divide a number 42 by 1, which is acceptable. 42 divided by 1 is 42 itself. That means now arithmetic exception will not occur. Now arithmetic error will not occur. That means these two statements will execute now. Remaining two statements will execute. Now out of those remaining two statements, what we are doing with the very first statement? We are creating an array. What is that array? C is an array which is being created and which is being initialized with a value of what? With a value of 1. That means only one value is being stored in the array. See this line I am telling. What happens in this line? C one memory location, because it is an array for which whose size is not specified. If its size is not specified, the size will be assumed based on the number of values in the bracket. How many values are there? One value. That means 1 and its index is 0. C of 0. If there are more values, the index will increase like this. That is C of 1, 2, that is it is 5, 6 and so on. But in our case, what is that? It is the array is having only one value and its index is 0. That's it. And in the immediate next statement, what we are trying to do, if you can see here in this statement, what we are trying to do, we are trying to access the 42nd index. That is C of 42, which is located somewhere here. C of 42. Is it existing? To this C of 42, you are trying to store 99 here, which is not at all existing. Because what is the size of the array which we have created? Size of the array is only this much. It is having only one index. But in this statement, which index you are trying to access? You are trying to access the index 42nd index value. That is, which is an error. At the 42nd index of C array, you are trying to store 99, which is not possible because the index value 42 is not existing. Yes or no? Because the only index possible value here is 0. 42nd index is not present. In that case, what type of error it will cause? Array index out of bound. What is the maximum bound for this? Maximum index what you can access is 0. But which index you are trying to access? You are trying to access index 42. Assume if the array is something like this, 1, 2. What is the maximum index you can access? You can access maximum up to 2. But what you are trying to access here, you are trying to access 42, which is not possible. So in this situation, what happens? In this situation, what happens? It is going to, it is not an arithmetic exception now. It is the second type of exception. What is the second type of exception? Array index out of bound. That means you are trying to access the array index which is not existing. Which is not existing. That means an object will be created and that will be thrown. That means first that will be matched with this catch. That means if this catch is capable of handling array index out of bound exception? No, it is not matching. Then it will be checked with the next catch statement. The second catch statement, is it capable of handling the array index out of bounds exception? Yes, it is capable of handling array index out of bounds exception. Then this error will be skipped by this catch, but it will be handled by the second catch. It will be handled by the second catch because second catch is capable of handling array index out of bounds exception. So what it will do, it will simply receive that object and print what is that array index out of bound and describe the details of the object which has caused the error and later print the after try catch block as it is. So the same piece of code which is written within the try block is capable of producing more than one type of error. If it is an arithmetic error, that will be handled by this. If it is an array index out of bound, that will be handled by this. Why it is array index out of bound? Because the maximum index is 1, that is 0. But you are trying to access 42, which is not existing. It is an error. So now this error will occur when? Only when you pass at least one command line argument. At least one command line argument. Now I'll show you the difference between this and this. The same program is being executed once again. Now by giving one command line argument. The same command after the bytecode one space you have to give and you have to give one string command line argument. Say I am giving command line argument 1. Any other argument you can give here which is of type string. That means what this indicates now, this is a command line argument. How many command line arguments we are giving? One command line arguments we are giving. That means if you are giving one command line argument, the value of A is not 0. Now what is the value of A? The value of A is number of command lines what you are giving. I am giving one command line argument. So I'll just say enter. 1 second. Right. So as you can see, in this earlier explanation, after multicatch, we are not giving anything. This is how we pass command line arguments to the program. How many command line arguments were there? 0 command line argument. Now in this case, how many command line argument I am giving? One command line argument. Then value of A is what? Value of A is 1. And this time the type of error is not division by 0. But what is the type of error? Array index out of bound exception. And which specific index you are trying to access? You are trying to access the index value 42, which is not existing. 42, which is not existing. And this is how we pass command line arguments. So one more example I'll show you. Java multicast space 1 space TWO2. That means second command line argument, and you need not give TWO2, anything else you can give X, Y, Z. Now how many command line arguments I am giving to this program? This is Java interpreter, name of the bytecode, command line argument number 1, command line argument number 2. Why it is called as command line argument? This is the command prompt and we are passing arguments to the program during the runtime by using command prompt. That's why they are called as arguments being passed to the program. We are giving arguments to the program during the execution. That's why they are called as command line arguments. Two command line arguments I am passing now. So what will be value of A? Value of A will be 2. Value of A is 2 now. For value of A equal to 0, only division by error is there. And from 1 onwards, everything it is array index out of bound exception. Similarly, you can pass 3 command line arguments. See here, one XYZ, then ABC. How many command line arguments I am giving now? Every command line argument must be separated by a space. So three command line arguments I am giving. Enter. Now which type of error is coming now? Array index out of bound exception. This is how we can make use of a single try. A single try can produce more than one type of error, and for every possible type of error, you have to handle the exception. And at the end of try and catch, the last statement will be executed. What is that? After try are catch blocks. You can see here that statement is executing everywhere. After try are catch block. After try are catch block. After try are catch block. So that is how a single code can produce more than one type of error, and that we can handle that by using multiple catch classes. This was about usage of multiple catch classes.